Be honest with me, have you ever wondered how exactly shall you use all those AI tools in your product development process? If you're working in tech like me and you are improving one product, you are not generating landing pages, then I totally understand the struggle. It's also what candidates for the leads position I'm hiring for were sharing with me last week, so it's not only juniors who are struggling. But don't worry, I've collected 19 ideas and use cases where my colleagues and peers are using AI in the day-to-day product work. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Ines. I'm a principal product designer with 16 years of experience. And on this channel, I share what I've learned about UX, business, and building a career that lasts. If you're also into those topics, subscribe to this channel so not to miss my weekly videos. And now let's go straight to it. And all those use cases that I'm going to mention, I have examples for them. I'm not be able to disclose all the examples because some of them are related to my actual work. But believe me, those are things that people are doing now. So no fluff, no things that you cannot use yourself. Some things, of course, will not be applicable to your business setup, but I think they are all very, very sensible. And the first idea and the use case is the UI mood board generation. And people shared this use case where they asked models to imagine that they are acting as a certain persona and to reflect on certain words that they were giving them and to generate them images back. And I was not involved in this project because I'm mostly working on the B2B part, so we're not dealing with a lot of visual design. But I could imagine that to be working very nicely, even in the product development setup. So instead of going to Pinterest or Dribbble and endlessly scroll for the suitable references, you can actually guide a model to create those references for you. So next one, ask UI to critique your writing. And I like this one very, very much because we work together with content designers, but it's not like I will be pinging them to check and verify my every writing. They are mostly working on the strategic topics and I respect that. At the same time, I'm not a native speaker and honestly, I'm not that trained in content design either. And that's very handy for me that I can upload my designs to an LLM model and to ask it to critique it. So this is something that I was not using, but I'm actually going to do that. And I'm going to try this out on the project that I'm working on right now because we are at the execution phase. So I'm dealing exactly with this issue. The next idea would be is that we can vibe code interactions to show to the devs. And this is something that I was not thinking about myself. But indeed, every time we create a new component, we also need to design the interaction. We need to show how this drop down is being selected and what animation is there. So instead of now creating that in Figma, we have an alternative to actually code it right away. Of course, developers will likely not be using the code that we have created, but I think we can do it a bit faster and we can then hand them over the requirements in the development engineering friendly readable way. So this is something that I would very much like to try. I don't know if I have a use case right now because I'm working with a very refined design system and it's honestly not that often that I'm creating new components to it. But I definitely could imagine that this can be the case for me in the near future. And I have also completed a course about vibe coding and Cursor. So this is something that I will be looking for opportunities to try out this new skill. So the next idea is that you can ask an LLM model to create many versions of the text with the same goal to use in your A/B tests, for example, or to just show to your stakeholders and to get their approval. Very obvious idea, I must say, and I must plead guilty. I've never used it before, but also I'm not working with A/B tests that much because, again, in the B2B setup, we don't have a lot of users to run A/B tests and to make it in a sensible way, so to say. But if you're working on the customer-facing product, this is absolutely 100% that you should be doing right now. And another idea, it's actually the idea number 5, I'm looking in the list here because I have 19 ideas listed down, is to use Notebook LM for your project knowledge base. So if you're working on a project with a long history, with a lot of changes, with a lot of documents, it is such a fantastic idea to use an LLM to actually crunch those data points and this information for you. And if you're not familiar with Notebook LM, I think it's a free tool made by Google, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it's where you can upload all the documents that are associated with the product or associated with the project that you want to create. And then this model will be using those inputs to provide you the outputs. We are using these tools quite heavily for our content design guidelines. That's why I also don't need to ping my content design colleagues every time I'm creating the content, but it's also a very really realistic use case that I see myself working on. And when I heard about this use case from my colleague, I immediately regretted that we don't have anything like that on my current project. So my project that I'm working on for a year now, it's reaching the end of it. We are at the execution phase, so we don't really have this opportunity to use this tool right now. But if we were starting with this tool at the beginning, I think it would save us a lot of time, because we also have a lot of documents associated with this project. So next time, definitely, I'm going to advocate for us using Notebook LM. So the next idea how you can use a generative AI model is that you can generate promo images. And again, if you are working on the customer-facing side, and even sometimes on the B2B side too, might not necessarily be dealing with landing pages, but still you might have here and there some needs to promote certain features or certain branched products or something like that that are associated with your main product. So I don't really use any opportunity to use something like that for my product, but I use generative AI, specifically Gemini, to generate images for my presentations that I show to my team members when I need to tell them a story about my design. So that is where I find it's very handy. Next idea is that you can run a quick desk research with the help of an LLM model or of an agent. And I think this is something that you might probably be doing already. If not, I can highly recommend you to do that. I really think that it could be a great starting point for every product that we're working on right now, for every project really, because it is very accessible. It requires no money except of the subscription, but chances are that you are having this subscription anyway. And you can at least have a general sense of a project, of a product that you are working on. At the same time, I don't really think that it will be very much beneficial if you are working on the same product for a long time and you are basically improving the features there. Then your research might probably go a bit deeper. But if you're starting on something new, if you're starting in a new company, in a new team, this is something that I would definitely utilize. Next idea is that the idea I actually very much like. I had never thought about anything like that. It's to make a heuristic evaluation of a user flow, of a prototype, or of a page. So here, for example, you can use Jakob Nielsen's 10 usability heuristics, and you can upload it to an LLM, and with a screenshot or somehow you can also ask it to run by it. I would love to see the actual results of those evaluations. I think maybe they are not going to be substantial without the help of a human, but I would say that some points they really might cover. The next idea is that you can create a content for your prototypes with Figma Make, specifically the text and images and maybe prices and mocked things and mocked data. I actually use some plugins when I need to do that. I have a plugin to generate avatars. I have a plugin to source out images from Unsplash. I have a plugin to source out random numbers and things like that. But indeed, Figma Make right now can do this whole bunch for you, and you don't need to juggle all those plugins. So definitely something to explore. The idea number 10, we're reaching the middle of the list, is that you can ask a variety of AI assistants what their role, personality traits are, and the way they think through a certain problem. And you can ask them to basically ideate or articulate on this problem. And I think it is very helpful, and especially if you will run it with multiple models. When you are ideating on something specific for your persona. So now you have the data of your persona, and I overall think that AIs are really doing a great job when you are giving them a task to play someone. They can imagine really well who they are, and they can give you a lot of details that will be associated with this person. They can give you advice, for example. And definitely that will be also helpful to gain this empathy towards a user, towards a persona, because it's one thing that we have this persona written and placed on a wall in our office, and a completely other thing that when you can directly interact with this persona. Yes, it might be an artificial persona, but I think there are a lot of use cases where this artificial part will not be that crucial. Of course, if you then will be verifying most crucial points with actual users. By the way, if you like this video and you want to receive more videos like that, then give me thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. It's important for me and for YouTube algorithms to start recommending you similar videos. And we are moving on. Now the next idea is that you can use an LLM model to localize your content. I think a really amazing idea, and for the products that are serving to multiple audiences, especially in the EU, this is very, very handy. I must say that we are not localizing our B2B products. They are done in English because this is like the most common business language anyway. But we are thinking about localizations, and sometimes those discussions appear because it has become really easy to localize your products with the help of an LLM. So definitely something that I would use, and something that I would use to also prove that my interface is accessible for different languages. If nothing breaks, I would definitely try Polish language or German to try out the most important parts of my interface. Now, the next idea that you might explore is to use agentic AI as an accessibility test. I really adored this idea. So what this person told us is that they asked a ChatGPT agent to basically interact with our website. And they were observing where this agent was struggling and what information they were able to source. This is so cool, actually, for customer-centric products, for the products where you don't need to be authorized to sign up a contract. Again, you might guess it. In our B2B setup, we are not really using anything like that, but maybe we can find a way. I don't know how we can maybe integrate an agent behind the paywalls, but for the customer-centric products, I would definitely be playing with that, and I would be getting some ideas, maybe, about something that could be improved. The next idea is something I also had at the top of my mind, especially when now we were starting with the execution phase on my product, is that actually I can try and I can ask an LLM model to verify the coded staging, the actual coded product that we have, with my design specs. And I might ask a model to compare and do the design QA for me. So the design QA process is the name of a process that we have and many other organizations have, where designers are basically verifying the work of the engineers, the front-end part, and ensuring that everything is, so to say, pixel perfect and everything is aligned with the design system and all patterns are in place. And in some cases, you need to go really interactive to check those specs, but in some cases also your specs are very much static, and you can use static screenshots and static screenshots of the front page to match them within an LLM model. And we had successful cases for that, and I will be definitely playing with those things myself, especially as this period is approaching for me. Next idea is that you can use an LLM to ship code. It's probably nothing new. Since the day one I became a UX designer, there has been always this question if UX designers should code. And apparently during the last couple of years, the answer shifted to this subtle yes. This definitely can set you apart from most of the candidates, and it's something that could really help you to stand out. And actually Intercom, it's a very famous company in Europe. I don't know if it is also known globally. They are actually educating their designers to code. And there has been a couple of articles and a couple of use cases that they were showing. If you are curious, you can check out their design blog by Intercom. And you can see how designers are now starting to code certain small things and how it is way more accessible right now. And this is something I'm upskilling as well. I'm learning how to code with a cursor, and I'm going to be trying this anyway. I think it is inevitable if you want to stay on trend in UX design. So this is also the idea that we were discussing, and there are also some people that are my colleagues who are doing that already. And I don't know if that is going to be a must for all UX designers in a couple of years from now, but I would definitely start to upskilling myself right now, so not to be left behind. And it's anyway a very interesting skill to have. We are working closer with our engineers, and we are going to talk the same language. We're going to use maybe the same tools, and I think it is absolutely necessary. Let's discuss the next idea. It's going to be the idea number 15, is that you can use rapid concept prototyping as a designer to actually get to a solution. And that was the point suggested by me. And if you've been watching my video about how I use AI in my current product development process, I was showing you exactly this case. The thing is that I'm using Lovable, Replit, and Claude to generate some sacrificial concept designs at the very early stage of my projects. I tried that on a project that I'm having right now. It yielded successful results. I was really satisfied. The team was commenting how amazing that was, that I was basically coding something as we speak. I was not actually coding, right? I was just interacting with Claude at that time, but that really felt like a magic or something that they could never see happening. And that speeded up our discussions, and I was really satisfied by that. I will be including link to this video at the end of this video, so you can have a look on this. And this is something that I could really see myself using going forward and for every project that I have. Now, the next idea is very much related to this one, but you can actually delegate rapid prototyping to your stakeholders. And this was also the idea suggested by me, because this is something I've tried. We have a bunch of business stakeholders who all are really deep in the knowledge that they are having, and it's really hard for us to get this knowledge out of them. Because we are not experts in their fields, we're not experts in accounting, in customs clearance. That's the nature of my job, you know, like I'm working in the B2B product. But now what I've tried is that I was getting them on a workshop, again, about a very specific feature where multiple conflicting business requirements were floating, and I basically gave them rules on how to prompt, and they were required to log in to Lovable, Replit, or Claude and to get their own prompt, following my rules, of course. And then we were discussing the results. That was a very interesting workshop, I must say, because not only we were able to get the business requirements way faster, those requirements became really visual, and that landed the expectations from our stakeholders about what is possible to deliver. They were basically adapting those requirements because they saw that it's very bulky to follow these same requirements in the interface, so the requirements can be adapted. That happens for us very often. It might not be super helpful for people who are not working in B2B, but oftentimes we're digitalizing the services and the products that are basically consisting of multiple sheets, on multiple Google Sheets, I mean. And the way how you can do things and you can run things in a Google Sheet could be completely different from what is possible actually to do in an interface. There are pros and cons of having a specific interface for that, or a Google Sheet, so to say. And so I was really satisfied with this workshop. Stakeholders were really happy because they felt that they were doing something techy, something really trendy. They were thanking me at the end. So I highly recommend you to try it out, at least from this sense of making them involved, because that speeded the process, landed the requirements, landed the expectations, and they also felt that they are designers, that they are very advanced, and they love this feeling clearly. So something to try out for yourself as well. And the next thing, also connected with rapid concept prototyping, also suggested by me, is that you can use those rapid prototyping tools to create the vision for your product. And of course, it's true that AI cannot create anything new, but we are also sometimes so stuck in the product, in the boundaries that we've built for ourselves, in the technical limitations that we know of, that we also cannot get out of this box that easily. And I think in the collaboration with AI, we can actually see the boundaries of this box and think a bit behind of it. So I was also running a workshop about the vision that we might have for a particular feature in the product in the future for the particular area. And we were experimenting with AI because it was really interesting how we were discussing different ideas, how we were all getting from our own perspectives there. But at the end, we kind of vibe coded something that we might see going forward, and what AI has suggested to us was like completely different. I'm sure that if we were sketching on our own, thinking about our own boxes, we would have been designing something very similar to what we have. Of course, the final result that AI has given us is not possible to use and is not possible to show to our stakeholders. It was not just elegant, it was not beautiful, it was not something that I see our stakeholders giving a buy-in, because UI is very important in our organization. But we were using those ideas to actually go further than that and to provide really elegant user experience that our stakeholders are seeing that something is easy to get a buy-in and seeing something as very aspirational. But we were really getting out of this box with the help of AI. So super cool workshop again, and something I recommend you to try. Now, the next idea, we are reaching almost the end of it. It's the idea number 18, is that you can create personas with AI prompts. We were arguing on that, if this is really a good practice, but in the end we agreed that personas, they are also having different fidelity. And it's fine if in the beginning your fidelity is really low and you are basically having those artificial personas as a starting point for the discussion and for your research. And then you can actually create an actual research to verify those points and to make those personas kind of more defined and more landed on certain evidence that you were hearing yourself. I think arguably might be a good starting point if you don't forget that then you will have to go and talk with real people and to verify that those people actually exist. But also, like, my point, because I see a lot of portfolios of junior designers, middle career designers here, like on my social media, sometimes people are coming up with unplausible personas right away, and I think those personas are also a no-go. And because we are biased as people, we're coming from certain cultures, those personas are also coming out to be very lopsided. And I actually think that the output from AI can be a bit better, because AI, yes, it's trained on the English part of the internet, it's not well trained on the German part of the internet or on other cultures, but still it sees a bit more output, I guess, than we do. It sees more discussions and it is trained on more data that we could possibly comprehend. So in many situations I see those personas to be even more plausible than personas that actual people are creating. And the last point, the idea number 19, is that you can get transcripts from your user interviews and to get the analysis and to quote certain parts of your transcript. This is also the idea that was suggested by me, because this is something I use from the day one. This was the first use case I found for myself when ChatGPT 3 was there. And this is something I really use day by day. This is something that I find particularly useful for crunching the transcripts for meetings right now. It's not like they are the same as transcripts from user interviews, but they are also sometimes quite handy because you can again quote certain things. If somebody says that we were not discussing that, you can point them out, but that's a different use case, I would say. It's not directly related to user experience design, but I really use it for user interviews and for crunching the data. Because really, I remember the time before the AI, like we were getting together with a PM most likely, we were having this board with a lot of quotes that we were putting there manually. So we were basically setting us time. So you go through this transcript, I go through this transcript, and we were putting those quotes, and then we were manually collecting those quotes in areas, clustering them. That was a very daunting process, and I'm happy it is over. This time is freed up from my calendar and I can do something else there. So those were 19 ideas that I sourced out from my colleagues and my peers. They are actual use cases that you can tactically use in your product design process. If you are not working on landing pages, on the marketing design, and you are not utilizing those website generators like Framer AI or Relume or whatnot, then you might be struggling to find actual use cases for AI in your work. But hopefully now you have plenty of ideas to try out. And if you're curious how I use rapid prototyping and vibe coding to convince my stakeholders, then give the like to this video and check out the next one. I see you there.